The citizens have rights. Citizens also have responsibilities. And when we focus these responsibilities on the democratic process, we come to realize that those rights and responsibilities begin before the electoral process, during the elections itself, and also after, when they serve as a responsive and responsible group of people who obey the laws, the laid down rules and regulations of their country. My name is Thelma Obas.
Your rights as citizens of Nigeria is to participate in things that affect you. That is participating in governance. And your responsibility include things like paying your taxes, so as to enable government to have enough to carry out governance activities. The conversation will continue today. I am Shikeola Ikwenaye. And we just want you to remember that the program is conversational. So we expect you to send your SMS, that is your messages and feedback to us via SMS on the numbers that will be displayed on your screen. And the topic here is still citizens' participation. 2023 general election is around the corner, and it's part of your civic responsibility to participate in that electoral process. That is what happens before, during, and after the election, because it is your responsibility to hold your leaders accountable. In this background report, Francis Ogbe reawakens our consciousness to that civic responsibility. Francis, it's over to you.
In a democracy, the power to change things is actually more with the people and less with the politicians. However, most Nigerians do not know this. They think the power is with politicians because they have not been taking citizens' participation seriously.
Citizens should look out for their candidates. Citizens should look out for issue-based campaigns. Citizens must come together as a nation to the realization that democracy is all about inclusion. What role are you playing? What role are you not supposed to be playing? Citizens should also look out for how best they can participate to make the process complete. And hence, as these campaigns begin, we need to hear what are these individual candidates saying. It's not enough to come out and make a promise. We also want to know, how do you intend to carry, or how do you intend to leverage out on same? You know, there's this thing about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but quite often we don't get told how you intend to do it.
Citizens should look at a candidate that has what it takes to solve our current realities, especially economic and security challenges that the country is facing as at now, which is one of the major problems that we are going into.
Citizens' participation does not end at voting for public officers, but is an ongoing activity. After elections, it is expected that the people push for laws that will improve their lives and society by forming pressure groups and recalling lawmakers that have not performed up to expectation.
Volunteerism is not a well-known concept. It's not very operational in our part of the world, and the reasons are not far-fetched, okay? For you to volunteer to a cause, you must believe in that cause. Are there causes that are believable? Are there deliverables from why I should volunteer to a cause? At the end of the day, is it non-profit? To what end? To what goal? These are the things that we look at when it comes to concepts like this. The whole idea is that in other climes, it's a way to go. In Nigeria, about 20 years ago, when unemployment started getting out of hand, you will get people advising you, look, go get an NGO, go get an office, volunteer your services, perhaps an opportunity opens up somewhere, they absorb you in. That's the only concept within which I know same happens.
It is not all about what am I getting, but it's all about what am I giving. But for us to institutionalize it, to become a culture, government should be able to recognize people who have done wonderfully without not asking anything in return.
Nigeria is a democratic state, and democracy provides citizens with civic powers, rights, and corresponding obligations to influence government policies, activities, and decisions. For effective citizens' participation, citizens must understand the idea about citizenship, politics, and governance. The people need knowledge to make decisions about policy choices and the proper use of authority, along with the skills to voice their concerns, act collectively, and hold public officials accountable.
There are a lot of NGOs of today, which in most cases, they engage the executives in terms of during campaign, social promises are made, and you'll not be able to do that. But most importantly, is through the voting process that you come out en masse and vote against the leader who did not fulfill his promise.
A lot of the corruption that takes place, if you speak to experts, they will tell you it starts from the budgeting process. Now, the whole idea is that a budget is done or a budget is earmarked. As a citizen, you just don't go back to sleep. That is where the role of civil societies come to play. Civil societies should be able to ask democratic leaders to be accountable to everything that has been budgeted.
Democracy is about the choice that the people make. Of all the various definitions of democracy, the most universally famous is the one that refers to it as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But what happens when the people do not seem to understand the democratic power that they have?
You cannot complain if you don't go out and participate. Democracy is all about inclusion. Democracy is all about participation. Democracy is all about once you are within the threshold of constitutional limits where you can vote and be voted for, you are expected to participate somewhere.
You are saying simply because your vote will not count, you are not going to be part of it. One, which shows you don't have trust in the INEC. If you did not vote, what now gives you the stake that this is not the candidate supposed to win? If you said politics is dirty, non-entity will take over and they will rule you. At that time, you could see that you have nothing to say because you refuse to vote for the right people.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on citizens' role in the forthcoming election.
Interesting. Francis has set the tone for our conversation. Citizens, you have responsibilities that come alongside the rights. Like I said, there are 5 and 6. We're going to Ibadan now. Tell us about volunteers and their impact on national development.
The current global economic climate continues to put many nations in a more precarious situation, with shrinking income being experienced. It is now increasingly difficult for governments to meet up in their responsibilities to the people. For this reason, attainment of the much desired development may likely be a mirage for now, without the active involvement of individuals, groups and organizations through some measure of volunteerism.
You are giving back to society, not expecting anything in quotes. It means that you have the mind to service and the act of service.
Being available for one another is like sowing a seed that you also could reap from.
The concept of volunteerism is seen as a powerful tool and vehicle capable of generating well-being for the people and their communities.
In the UK, as in many other countries, people are encouraged to volunteer. Many private companies even give their employees time off for volunteer activities. The governments have also laid down guidelines and they have provided resources to facilitate volunteering.
In recognition of its importance, the United Nations Volunteer Programme noted that Attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030 is impossible without offering services to support it. While volunteerism has been an integral part of many advanced countries of the world, it is a different experience here in Nigeria. Things have degenerated to a level in which no one can offer service without expecting something in return.
They have this kind of mentality now, like youths generally believe you shouldn't do something for free. Like you shouldn't do it for free. Like if you can do something, it should be for free. Now everyone wants to make money. To even make a dime in this country is stressful. To even give now is stressful. Everything is stressful. So to now think of volunteering.
Everything boils down from parenting, you know. When we don't allow our children to see the need to serve, parents push their children to just go and make money, make money, make money. There's more to working than just making money. If you have the heart to serve wherever you find yourself, you see it as, I want to serve my community. It brings out the leadership in you, and anybody can be a leader.
To promote volunteerism for social development and nation building, the federal government set up the Nigerian National Volunteer Service. But the selflessness and service to humanity which volunteerism portrays is very much missing in our national life, and those in position of authority are not exempted from this.
So our orientation in this part of the world is that we don't understand patriotism and we don't understand selfless labor. Everybody think in terms of what have I got to gain, what is there for me. And that's why you see, even in our politics, most of those people who throng along with politicians, it's what for what they are going to get. It's not because of really changing the society or transforming the society.
So volunteerism helps you to build the leadership in you, helps you to emerge as a leader. So when we have less volunteers, it means that we are having poor leaders, less leader quality people, and it will affect a whole lot of things.
The one-time Secretary General of the United Nations, late Kofi Annan, once said, "If our hope of building a better and safer world are to become more than wishful thinking, we will need the engagement of volunteers more than ever."
Volunteerism is very important, not only for the benefactors, but for the volunteers themselves and for the society as a whole. It is a social obligation as well as a moral obligation.
It will promote a better society. It will demystify the almighty greed and selfishness that has eaten deep into the fabric of our life and attitude. It will make people realize that money is not everything. Just as a passage of scripture said, he said, "We have brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we will take nothing out of it."
If volunteerism is embraced in all aspects of our national life, it will go a long way in strengthening civic engagement, safeguards social inclusion, deepens solidarity, and solidifies ownership of development results.
Yeah, very deep one from NTA Ibadan there, talking about volunteerism, which is one of the key civic responsibility as a citizen, but does seem to be missing in our national life in Nigeria. We have someone in the house that will throw light into this aspect of volunteerism as a civic responsibility, and is in the person of Mr. Emeka Ilugbunam. He's the president of a Rotary Club, Abuja Municipal. Sir, you're welcome to our program.
All right, good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, Nigerians. Nice to be here again today.
Okay, now we're talking about volunteerism as a civic responsibility, and this seems not to be a very common concept in Nigeria. What do you have to say about it, and how should we embrace volunteerism as a duty to the society?
All right, thank you so much. So I listened to one of the your respondents. They are talking about civic education, right? So I think this is a gap we inherited when civic education is not given its rightful place, because citizenship is something that needs to be taught. And in citizenship, right, there are two aspects of what citizens do. Number one is the obligations of citizenship, and the other one is the citizenship responsibilities. Now, you find that under obligations of citizenship, you have those things that has been prescribed by law that the citizen must do. I mean, things like obeying the laws, paying taxes, serving defending the country if the needs arises, and things like that. But the other part is what we call the citizenship responsibilities, which then includes, attending civic meetings, volunteering at the right time when the time calls for it. So volunteerism is actually a civic responsibility. However, like I said, it's something we need to have, both at school level and every level of the society. I mean, in primary school and so on and so forth, we were taught civic education. And from then, I remember I was in the Boy Scout, for instance. That was years ago. Boy Scout, Boys Brigade, and so they are at the foundation level, the conscientization to volunteerism. But I think it went over time. And what happened to it? Again, how deep is civic education in schools these days and in all facets of life? It is very, very low.
It's also impacting how Nigerians volunteer. But let's also go back to that package from Ibadan. Someone said that the number of volunteers, which is obviously, like we have seen, small, is an interpretation of the quality of leadership. At what level, perhaps, would you think they are referring to?
So the point is, it's actually at all levels, I must tell you the truth. So it's actually at all levels, grassroots, state level, national level. Now, let me tell you what is going on here. And it's very fundamental, what I found out. Many people now feel that, well, government has a lot of money. So anytime you hear we spent so billion on so thing, so trillion on so thing, right? The citizens are wondering, so we have money. So what am I volunteering for? That's one thing I found out, because I've been, like you asked me, that I've been in Rotary for, decades. And you hear this kind of, what are you volunteering for? There's a lot of money, okay? Again, so we need to be able to educate the populace that, no, that's not what it is. The fact that we hear all those amounts of money doesn't mean that that's exactly, it goes into anybody's pocket, for instance. Somebody asked me again, why should I volunteer when the leaders are taking the money? But we know the leaders are not necessarily taking the money. However, that consciousness comes into people. We need to disabuse it. So when you talk about the number of volunteers, I actually think that the number of volunteers are even increasing. However, the reason for volunteerism is changing.
Okay.
All right. Many people believe now that I volunteer, I must get money. So the real meaning of volunteerism is not there anymore. So we go out, for instance, and in Rotary, we do polio vaccine and so on and so forth. We bring out our time. We go to do it. You go to get volunteers to do it. The moment they are done, they're asking for money.
They're waiting for something.
Exactly. And these days, in fact, you have to state the amount of money you are giving to them upfront.
Before they come on board.
So when you see all those people in the field, what are they doing? Volunteering, isn't it? But at the background,
there's still something must be given.
The incentive for it is what? To make money. So the real meaning and impact of volunteerism needs to be, and that's why what people are doing this morning is really, really germane, right? We need to educate everyone about what it means to volunteer. Okay, I teach youths. I try to give orientation, and I make it clear that a lot of people have already been able to gain a lot of things by just volunteering. Just do something and showcase yourself.
But tell us about how volunteerism improves the quality of the person and how it impacts government in the long run. Government and governance.
Very important. So to the individual first. When you take, for instance, a straight one, you graduate from school, you do your youth service. Why waiting to do work? To gain an employment. People come, when you go to ask for, apply for job, they ask you, what is your experience? Now, you have zero experience because no one has employed you. But one of the things you can do to actually gain experience for yourself is to volunteer. That's one of the things. You can go into voluntary service. I mean, volunteer to go do something somewhere. This is NTA, for instance, and I studied mass communication. I can come in here, and while I am volunteering to do one or two things, I am learning. And if someone asks me tomorrow, where have you been involved? I mention NTA. It has made you employable straight away. So it helps you to gain experience. It helps you to get exposed. So that is one way volunteerism helps. Now, for the government as well, it helps to lower the cost of governance. Okay. Secondly, it helps to make your citizens employable. It helps to make them partakers and co-owners of the process.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, this lack of a volunteering spirit in Nigeria, can you relate it to patriotism? Is it because we don't have that patriotic spirit that we also lack volunteering spirit, especially to things of governance?
Absolutely, you can liken it there. Although sometimes I also try to dig a little bit deeper. That's what we call a vicious cycle, right? So something affects the spirit of patriotism, and then it affects the spirit of volunteerism. But not going down there, first of all, yes, the issue of patriotism is what is affecting. I mean, in America, they say, look, think of what America will, what you do for America, not what America will do for you. And same thing for Nigeria as well. We need to come to the point where we start asking, how do I help to change things where I don't like them? How do I help to make the nation better? How do I help to make governance better? That is what patriotism is all about. And the moment that consciousness is in you, then you try to give your time, your money, your energy, and everything. That is volunteerism. So yeah, that's a very deep impact there.
Okay, Suleiman Babajia has been dwelling on patriotism, and he did some research and he spoke expansively with people who can enlighten us further. Suleiman, tell us more.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
This statement by the late American president, John F. Kennedy, challenged Americans to contribute in some way to the public good. A sense of loyalty and devotion to country, pursuit of the common good, standing up for truth and justice, traits of patriotism. However, Kennedy's statement does not resonate with some Nigerians today.
When JF Kennedy made that call, America was going through a lot of challenges, but there was America, and there was an American dream that is shared by Americans, right? This does not resonate with Nigerians because there is no Nigerian dream. There is no consciousness that you have that today, if you say, oh, this is a Nigerian and this is our orientation, we are still in a survivalist mode. Everybody is doing what he needs to do to survive and hoping that he does not fall at the other side of the law.
The society has been so hostile and has treated its citizenry so unfairly that they do not have a sense of co-ownership or a sense of belonging in that society. So why would you now begin to think of what to do for a society that, as far as you're concerned, does not know that you exist?
It is generally believed that Nigerians' founding fathers laid the foundation for patriotism as they, despite their differences, worked for the common good and believed in the Nigerian project. Their commitment and sacrifice to make the country better was the basis for trust in governance and leadership. Sadly today, selfishness, loyalty to individuals, political, ethnic, or religious group, social class, or professional interests are constantly placed above national interest.
Everybody keeps talking about national cake. My own share of the national cake, our own share of the national cake, our section share of the national cake, our group share of the national cake. Nobody's talking about baking a bigger cake because we do not have that understanding that having become independent, there was a responsibility on us, inherent responsibility to bake a bigger cake so that we keep eating.
Some Nigerians hardly celebrate anything good about their country. They hardly take pride in their citizenship and are quick to speak ill of the country.
Why you find news items on the internet on all of that toxic is because the environment, the atmosphere already has been polluted. It really becomes very difficult, especially for those younger ones who didn't see a beautiful Nigeria or a better Nigeria yesterday.
Simple acts of love or show of support for Nigeria has become a rare commodity. This is filled with an active argument that if the country cannot provide them basic security, physical, economic, and social security, then no citizen is under any obligation to love and respect the country.
So it's a two-way thing. The government expects certain behavior from citizens, and citizens expect certain actions from the government. This is the way you nurture patriotism. Otherwise, the government will be doing things on its own, and the citizens and communities too will be doing other things on their own. There is no synergy. You cannot have a harmonious society.
You see, the problem with this country is leadership. It is not followership. They convicted some political office holders, for corruption, right? And then people are thinking that, oh yeah, maybe there is a direction here. Therefore, we need to understand that whoever is corrupt or is found guilty of corrupt practices will be convicted if they can do that to leaders who have served under government, right? So you are beginning to change the mindset of people by that act. Then you wake up one morning and you hear that these same people have been pardoned by government.
We could say our fathers have failed us. Well, that is true. But that truth does not mean that we should not throw up our arms in the air in despair. No, we don't have to do that. We are the Nigeria of today. And of course, what that implies is that we also now owe a responsibility to posterity, to bequeath posterity a better Nigeria than we met it.
It is well documented that developed countries of the world today attained greatness partly as a result of the patriotism shown by their citizens. To replicate this, Nigerians must take pride and ownership of the country and show commitment, love, and support for the development of the nation.
In a cosmopolitan neighborhood where you have people of different faith, people of different tribes, people of different culture living together, if they don't come together and clean that environment, when environmental risks come, such as flood, it will wash all of them away. And that is one crucial thing about patriotism.
So the most important thing that we need to do is that we need to clearly indicate the values we hold in high esteem as a country and insist on them. That way, I can assure you that every Nigerian will follow it.
I love my country so much, and I want what's best for my country.
Patriotism, after all, is the secret resource of a successful society.
Yeah, it's very necessary to take ownership, pride, and commitment of our nation, that is Nigeria. We're talking about patriotism and the need for Nigerians to be patriotic as part of your civic responsibility to your nation. The program is conversational and we're expecting your feedback via SMS or WhatsApp on the line that will be displayed on your screen. We still have Mr. Emeka Ilugbena, the President, Rotary Club, Abuja Municipal, in the studio, who will be shedding more light to these issues. Okay, sir, we're still talking about patriotism. Like in that report, someone said Nigerians don't really exhibit patriotism because they feel the government is not meeting up with their obligations. So what do you have to say about that? If you don't meet my obligations, then why should I be patriotic to the country? That is the situation we find ourselves.
But that is a fact. Again, let's go back to the definition of a citizen. So a citizen is someone who either by birth or by naturalization becomes a member of a country, pledges allegiance to the country, which is the government. That's on one side. But on the other side is entitled to care and protection by that country. So there are two sides to it. So if you want things from the citizens, which they must give anyway, I'm not trying to say that whether you feel you're getting or not, you still have to do what you have to do. However, for us to be able to push patriotism to the point it becomes very beneficial to every citizen and the country in general, we must try as much as possible to offer the citizen the other side of it, which is care, compassion, and protection. Now, it's natural that if someone feels that, well, I'm not getting a good deal, the tendency is for the person's morale to wane. And that's when we start seeing unpatriotic dispositions and tendencies. So, yes, it's affected. Patriotism is affected by what people feel they are getting from the government or not. Okay? So, something has to be very, very, very clear to the citizen. Whether you think that the government is giving enough or not,
do your part.
Do your part, exactly. Do your part, because things will always change. All right? What you expected didn't happen today, it will happen tomorrow. It didn't happen to yourself today, it will happen to your child tomorrow. However, if you say because you think, because sometimes these are notions, you think you're not getting something from the other side, and you don't do what you're supposed to do, then everything falls apart. You become the same person to suffer it, and then your generation suffers it. So what I'm trying to say here is this: there are two sides to citizenship: allegiance and protection, and we need to do everything consciously possible to push up the both sides.
Okay. We find in these days, perhaps because some people feel debilitated and they lack that patriotic zeal and spirit, they are often quick to pronounce negativity. If they do that on the country, aren't we in another way also pronouncing it on ourselves? Can we, little matter how bitter we feel or how we are, can we separate ourselves from the country that is ours?
No, it's totally inseparable. We cannot be stateless. We cannot be stateless. In fact, we are who we are because we are Nigerians. And let me say this very clearly: I have lived beyond Nigeria. I mean, several other countries. There is nowhere you go and it's a bed of. I mean, everything is perfect. Okay, so it is still the citizen that is going to cause the change. So you can't say because you feel you are not being looked after, therefore you throw your hands in the air. It doesn't work that way, because it still comes back to the citizens. Now, one good thing that the Constitution has done is that it gave the citizen the right, to do certain things. Okay, go and vote for the kind of government you want to see, and then pray and hope, that it comes that way, and until it comes. Now, listen, no matter how much we can complain from now till whenever. We have to do our part for things to change, and that is what is important.
Okay, now we've been talking about citizens' participation. Now, what should the leaders do to really boost patriotic spirit of citizens, so that they will have this sense of obligation to the country?
And I feel very good question. I think this is where we really need to lay emphasis. What should the government do? Well, number one is, I describe the citizen, as that person that pledges allegiance and then gets protection. We need to show by our words, actions, body language, whatever you call it, that we care for the safety and protection of our citizens. The question everybody asks is, what is in it for me? Right? Show them what it is in for them. At least do something, say something that will reassure the citizens. But also note one other thing I want to talk about. There are a lot of volunteers in the country, like I said. I'm a volunteer. I'm a member of Rotary International, and there are thousands and thousands of Rotarians in Nigeria doing voluntary work. Okay? So there are still people in Nigeria who do genuine voluntary work. However, there is something I think that must be done. Why I invite so many other citizens, in fact, all citizens, to join into the kind of thing Rotary and other well-meaning voluntary organizations are doing, the government needs to also very consciously learn how to recognize volunteers. And when I say recognize, I'm not talking about giving them money, because when you give money, it's no longer volunteerism. But how about simple recognition? You can call it honors or ordinary mention, for
Hasn't
instance.
That been happening at all?
Well, it seldom happens.
Minimal.
It's so infinitesimal. For me, I can't even remember. I had a joint project with Lions Club. We visited Wuse Hospital last week, and when we were having our debriefing, that's what people are talking about. Well, you do all this here when you go to government offices, and so nobody even recognizes who you are. I expect that somebody who is doing frontline volunteerism gets into an office, for instance, you recognize the person. You know what happens in the United States? For instance, a military man enters into the aircraft. The captain stops, announces his presence. how do you think he feels? He feels on top of the world.
Determined to
Next
do
time,
more.
if you say jump, you say how high. So, I mean, I wear my Rotary badge, not to be recognized by the way, but to be able to let, great people like you know that there is Rotary, and then come in to join in the volunteerism. But again, imagine a Rotarian gets into an office and you give him a handshake, for instance. Oh, we love what you people are doing. You are doing a great job. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of recognition you give to people. And by the time you do this, it will just create a dynamo. A lot of other people will get into this and will be the better for it.
Unkpo is reaching us from Anambra State. He said, nothing, we should not emphasize patriotism when there's high inflation, when the next dude is saying is hungry.
Yeah.
What ought we to do to show that we're patriotic more than looking up to those who lead us to provide for us? Someone is saying here again that he likes what the ladies are doing. That is a great show. He likes what the guest has been saying. Nigerians should volunteer more. This is Ololade Akinola from Ilori, Kwara State.
Okay, quickly before we round up the session. The elections are around the corner. And we're talking about citizens' participation. What should citizens do to entrench good governance? And also, after entrenching the governance, to hold them responsible for their actions in order to ensure good governance.
All right, thank you so much. So this is very, very important. Like I said when we started, I mean, God and the consumer made it such a way that we have opportunity to query, okay, to interrogate what, those who are given power are doing with it. Okay, so that time is coming again. In a few months' time, we have to go to the polls again. And what should the citizen do? Remember that the power belongs to you. That's what is important. And where does it reside? In your voter's card. So you go to the poll and see, I mean, whoever is presenting himself or herself, whichever party is coming up, do they have the kind of programs that will give the kind of Nigeria we want to see? So for the citizen, it is very, very, very important. It's a responsibility that we go out there. I mean, the era of registering for voters card is past right now. It is time you need to make sure that you go to INEC, collect your voters card, keep it very well, and make sure that on that day, wherever your own polling booth is,
you are there.
Be there. Because some people who have their own polling booth in another state while you reside in another state, only to find out that you cannot vote. So right now, check where you're supposed to vote. Make sure you are there at that time and please vote. And then after voting, when the government comes into power, or even during voting, remember that if you vote because you are given a loaf of bread, if you vote because you are given a bag of rice, if you vote because you are given some few cash, you have mortgaged your own bag of rice for the next 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
You will not get it. If you're giving 50,000 or 100,000 naira, I tell you that is your children's school fees for the next 4 years. So whatever you are doing, ensure that you do not vote because of minor things that do not really add up, that anybody may have offered you. So you say no to vote buying, do not be bought. Make yourself available under rain, under shine. Make sure you put your vote. And that is what is very important.
And after the elections, when the leaders already emerge.
And ensure that when people come back to your locality, for instance, a rep or a senator comes back to your locality, ensure that you ask questions regarding what he or she has
hold
been
them
doing.
accountable.
Hold them accountable.
You need to hold them accountable. We want to thank you, Mr. Emeka Iluegbona, President Rotary Club, Abuja Municipal. Continue to lead Nigerians to do more volunteer work to make us better people at the end of the day. Thank you for coming on Weekend Deal.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Weekend Deal takes a break now. We urge you not to go away and continue to send in your messages.
Yeah, the conversation is still citizens' participation and civic responsibility as a citizen of a country. And one of your civic responsibility is patriotism. Let us look at this report from Tete Ayuba on Celebrating Nigeria. The need to celebrate your country. Come with me.
There is a greater chance that foreigners looking for information about Nigeria will stumble on images and reports that put the country in a bad light. From random unruly acts abroad to staggering figures of international Nigerian scammers. The list is long and worrying. But to quote a renowned author, Chimamanda Adichie, this is the danger of a single story.
One thing I know is that bad news sells. When good things are happening, people will hardly talk about it, but when you do something bad, that's what's talked about. And Nigeria is the biggest economy biggest country, basically. We are the greatest, we're known as the greatest. So our numbers are a lot. And so even if other people are doing things in more proportion than Nigerians, just because we are bigger, just because we have more population of people in other places, the news about some of the negatives that we do is sold. And so whenever that happens, it comes across as this is all what Nigeria is known for. But that's not it. We are not propagating the good stories, because good stories exist. In their numbers, there are many, but it's not being propagated as much as the negative ones, because bad news, like I said earlier, sells. Hot news sells, gossip sells, something wrong is happening. So people are more prone to look out for such news than the good news.
That being said, why then are first world countries like the US seen as the greatest in the world, despite their own shortcomings?
The reason why we have that perception of the US, if you look at it seriously, and you will see that it's the movies, things like the movies that come out of there, things like the stories that are crafted, specifically to carry the positives. So what we need to do in Nigeria is for us to tell our stories. What we need to do is for us to push our stories. When you see negative news, that's not what to retweet or to send on your broadcast on WhatsApp. What you need to broadcast is find those good things people are doing. They talked about the young girls who won that programming contest around the world. We talk about anywhere you go. If you go to the US, the statistics of Nigerians making it in schools, the percentage of professionals, top maybe 1%, a great percentage of them are Nigerians. Not just Africans, but Nigerians specifically. So Nigerians are excelling in those nations, and they will not tell our story. We are the ones that will tell our stories. We are the ones that have to find them. We are the ones that have to put them on platforms, celebrate them.
How then do we, as Nigerians, begin to propagate the positive attributes of our great nation?
We need to leverage technology. That's one thing that has really helped us now, because in the past we were relying to tell our stories and to do anything media. We were relying on traditional media, which was very expensive to really use. But now technology has created a level playing field where someone in their backyard can do anything. There's this group of boys called the Kurodu Boys. In that slum or that back place in Ikorodu, they were doing their videos, mirroring Hollywood movies, and caught the attention of highly respected Hollywood stars who got to know them. And they didn't have any money, they didn't have any budget, and they could tell the story, they could show themselves, they could portray, that look, we are intelligent, we can do this. There's a kind of resilience, there's a kind of grit that we developed because of the challenges we're going through. So because of that grit, because of that tenacity that we have as Nigerians, when we go to these places, we excel.
Surely in the near future, as we continue to embrace and celebrate our positive attributes as a nation, the stigma placed on us internationally will change for the best and for good.
Ayuba, yes, indeed. Think more of what you can do for your country than what your country can do for you. Celebrate who we are as a people.
I will be talking a lot more about elections, since the elections are just around the corner, and in a couple of weeks we'll have the campaigns. The campaigns will begin in earnest. And to do that, we have engineer Yabagi Sani in the studio. He is the national chairman, Action Democratic Party, and is also the presidential flag bearer of the party, that is Action Democratic Party. So you're welcome to the studio. Okay, one of the issues that we will be discussing is election violence, but let's even start with this. How prepared do you think Nigerians are for the forthcoming election?
Well, Nigerians have been prepared long before this time. This is not the first time we're having an election. We've had 2015, 2019. Those are the recent ones. And you can see how actively Nigerians, participated in those elections. To tell you that Nigerians have already internalized, the objective of democracy, and that is why, which is about the people actually, and that's why you find Nigerians trooping out, in their thousands, to ensure that they assert their rights, which is to vote, and the votes to also count. We have seen the trend, especially if you look at what is happening currently. There was a registration, that is voters registration. You can see how people were so excited, passionate. They were in droves. They were going to all centers that were declared by INEC as where you can get registered. And when INEC had to stop the registration, people were protesting. To tell you how much involved in how much awakened Nigerians are today as to their rights, to be allowed to vote and then their vote to count. So Nigerians are ready.
But I urge you to hold your thoughts just a minute. We'll come back to continue the conversation. We're going to Kano. Voters' apathy. Is there still apathy amongst Nigerians? Kano, share.
As a process of choosing new leaders to govern the society, election is conducted in every democratic setting, such as Nigeria. In recent years, for a combination of reasons, citizens are getting disinterested in participating in the political processes.
Most of the people, they lose interest. Even me, I don't have voters card because I don't think I can vote for anyone. And you are voting for you to get something after the vote, right? Yeah. But if you vote for someone, you think that it will help you, it will not help you. So why will I just go and be following you?
Even 2019 general election, I worked as a collection officer, in Garu. But now, I say I will not work again. Why? Because the government has failed us. Everybody knows this. They failed us. Like me now, I'm a university worker. And they don't pay me for more than how many months now. So I don't think I'll work again.
People that were claiming they were not going to come out and vote for the next leaders, they are the ones that caused this problem to Nigerians. The problem of we Nigerians that we are facing is we don't like our country, sincerely speaking. Because if you have your party and your party is not doing well, you will supersede your party against the interests of the nations. And that is the main problem of Nigeria.
Political apathy can be defined as a situation whereby voters have increasingly become more and more disillusioned, either as a result of the way and manner in which the processes are going, or because the governance itself has not satisfied their yearnings and aspirations.
In this country, the unfolding circumstances create a belief in the citizens that my vote does not matter. Such belief revolves even around the elites, even though things are beginning to change.
It is a negative behavior that is being developed by the citizens of a nation, whereby they are losing interest in participating in all political activities of that nation.
Lack of institutionalization of democratic values in citizens has created a situation whereby people just have their frame of mind that they will no longer come back and elect anybody because of the disappointment over the years.
It may be debated as to who loses and who benefits from voter apathy in elections. Yet, there is considerable consensus that citizens as electorate stand to lose a lot.
Those who are disillusioned to the point of not going out again to collect their PVCs or even if they collected their PVCs, they are not ready to go out and vote. They are doing a disservice to themselves. And they are doing a disservice to the society. And they are doing a disservice to the process of entrenching democratic values.
It is always better to vote wisely and anticipate good things to be delivered. Instances be considered of previous performances of politicians to vote for them.
Every day if you on your television or your radio, you will just be talking about APC, PDP, APC, PDP. Why APC, PDP? Why? You can go for the younger political parties that can give you what you want.
Yeah, the bottom line is that you should be part of the electoral process, come what may. We still have engineer Yagbagi Sani in the studio. He's the chairman, national chairman of Action Democratic Party, and the flag bearer, the presidential flag bearer of that party, for that matter. So, the conversation continues. So now, just like is seen in this report, one of the vices of election process in Nigeria is vote apathy, a situation where citizens are disillusioned about voting or being part of the electoral process. What do you think is responsible for this, and what should citizens do about this issue?
Well, it still boils down to what I said before. That is the leadership, the conduct of the leadership when you get to power, how you treat people. You know, if you don't deliver the dividends of democracy to them, they become confused that, okay, we thought that when you are in power, after we have handed over our resources to you, we're giving you our mandate, the next thing is for you to do what the Constitution says, which is to provide, our welfare and provide security. But all that is absent. In fact, the reverse is the case. So this is why there's that voter apathy which you are talking about, because people believe that, well, why am I wasting my time if after all I will not get even the minimum, the irreducible minimum that the Constitution says they should give to people, and they behave as if it's we don't care, we don't mind. You can go to whatever, you can do whatever you like to do.
Okay, but the citizens...
So this is the attitude. No, the leadership must be the leadership. The citizens, like I told you, are ready. They come out. They go and register in thousands. You see them staying, when the line, rain come shine.
They come out en masse.
They come out en masse to vote. But after voting, what happens? That is the issue. And what happens is with the leadership that must behave, must encourage people to now say, okay, we believe in this system. They can't believe in it if they come out and they cannot get any result out of it.
But citizens do have a role to play to right the wrong. So let's talk in the part of citizens. What the citizens should do.
Again, it is about the way we run, the government, providing, like you are saying now, for instance, have you ever seen a situation where anybody has been recalled through the process of recall that, okay, this representative is not representing them well, so let's go and then conduct another election of recall to recall the person. It's so torturous, it's, in fact, it never happens. So we must make that process of recall as easy as even the elections, in fact, easier than the elections, conducting of the elections, so that people can easily be put on their toes and know that they are accountable to the people. You must give kudos to INEC, for bringing out these innovations, that has made, some of the things that before was the order of the day, now not to be possible anymore. So, and again, also, I think to an extent you have to give this president also, some credit for signing the Electoral Act 2022 into law. and for also making it possible for us to have this electoral commission, establishment of electoral commission act that National Assembly, also as part of the second reading, and then will now be given to Mr. President. I think once Mr. President signs those two things, I mean, he can go to sleep because generations yet unborn will come to appreciate him.
Thank you very much, Engineer YY Sani. It's been a pleasure having this chat with you. You're watching Weekend Deal. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Don't go away. Queen Elizabeth passed recently, and the obsequies are going on as we speak, so that she'll be interred tomorrow.
Yeah, the body is still lying in state in Westminster Hall in preparation for tomorrow's state funeral, and the body will be there, will be lying in state till that Monday morning, and hundreds of people are still standing and lining up there in queue at the Westminster Hall to just catch a glimpse of the Queen's coffin. I was just impressed at the rich tradition there about the funeral, even from the time the Queen passed on at the Balmoral Estate in Scotland.
Yes,
it's been a lot of things happening,
and we got to see Prince Harry and Prince William. They donned their military outfit. Yeah, it was quite a sight to behold.
Yeah, the eight grandchildren of the Queen held vigil in honor of the Queen, and world leaders are already on ground to honor the Queen. Hundreds of thousands still waiting in long queues, spanning about 6 miles just to have a glimpse of the Queen's coffin. And it may interest you to know that Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, who will be representing Nigeria, is also one of the world leaders that will participate at the state funeral scheduled to hold at Westminster Abbey on Monday. The Queen will lie in state till that Monday morning, that is tomorrow, for her state funeral. You remember the Queen died, that is Queen Elizabeth II died in her Balmoral Castle in Scotland on September 8th at the age of 96.
She reigned for 70 years.
Yeah, 70 years. And that is the longest reigning monarch in the history of British monarchy. Quite interesting. And she performed her last duty as the Queen just 2 days before her demise. May the Queen continue to rest in peace.
Indeed. Wow. That was quite detailed. You've really been following all that's been unfolding over there. Indeed, may her soul rest in peace. From us here, it's thank you for keeping our company this morning on Weekend Deal. Always a pleasure to host you on the program. We'll talk about topical issues. Stay patriotic. Stay patriotic. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria indeed. See you at another time. Bye.